Alessandra Binazzi, from Head of Global Localization at Asics, to present today. Just a reminder, this is a session, so at the end, you will be able to ask live Q&A. In order to do that, you'll see a button up at the top that says share my camera and audio. Once you do that, we'll go ahead and have you in a queue, and we will moderate the session so you can ask your questions live. With that, Alessandra, why don't you go ahead and get started?
Thank you so much. So yes, thanks for having me today. Hello, everybody. I'm Alessandra. I'm head of global localization at Asics Digital, as was mentioned. And I just really wanted to talk about enabling e-commerce through global partnerships with Lilt. To give you a just very brief background on the company. Asics is a Japanese company. It was founded in 1949 by our chairman, Onitsuka. And the company name is actually an acronym, which stands for Anima Sana Incorpore Sano, which in English means a sound mind and a sound body. And this is really the philosophy that drives the company. It was the philosophy that the founder founded the company on, and it's still, to this day, the philosophy at the base of everything that Asics does. Specifically, I work in Asics Digital, which is the digital arm of Asics. We are based in Boston, Massachusetts, but we serve the organization globally. Our mission is very simple: get the whole world moving. And our vision is specific to digital, obviously. So it is establish Asics as the fitness brand most useful in the eyes of the digital consumer. So this is a brief, it's just an overview of the various areas that Asics Digital is involved in. We have e-commerce. So obviously this is the e-commerce website or mobile site. And we work in 14 languages there. We have a series of fitness apps and web race registration products. So Race Roster is a race registration platform, and Runkeeper is a running, walking, swimming, any kind of activity tracking app. We have a membership program called Run Asics, which is really a loyalty program, and that's driven through a CRM. And we also have digital creative toolkits. These are basically digital marketing materials, so from landing pages to email campaigns, social media, digital media, etc. And in this ecosystem, the area in which we work with Lilt specifically is actually the e-commerce area, and specifically the product content. That is what is processed through Lilt. So I just wanted to briefly talk about how we selected the product descriptions as the type of content that we will work with Lilt. And we knew that we wanted to work with MT in some way, shape, or form, but our digital content isn't really the best candidate in most cases for MT, most of the time because it's very low volume, but at the same time high visibility for consumers. And so in most cases, we saw that a lot of our content types fell into this lower right quadrant, which is low volume and high visibility, and therefore is really more appropriate for human translation. But then when it comes to product description, this is really where we have our highest volume in terms of content. So this is where we need to scale. And also, it's highly repeatable content. So very good for a kind of a machine translation methodology. And the language is, the quality needs to be high, but it's not like marketing type language. So it can be processed through MT. So, you know, why Lilt? Basically, we've been working with Lilt now almost 2 years, but our journey actually started a little bit before. When I first started at Asics, I learned that many of our regions, and in particular Asics Europe, had a problem statement. Basically, they spent way too much time translating product descriptions, and often they actually missed the launch date because of the long turnaround times for translation of these product descriptions. So we knew that this was an issue, but of course, you know, sometimes internal stakeholders, it takes a while to actually get them to understand your proposals. But we have been talking to Lilt about the possibility of including them into our process when translating product descriptions. We actually had our first chance in Q4 of 2018. So we were able to start pilots because Asics Europe decided to add 2 new locales to the e-com sites. This were Polish and Portuguese. And in order to launch, Europe had to translate all existing product content into these 2 new locales. So that was a lot of volume with a very short timeline, and they really could not do it with their existing process. So that was basically our chance to pilot the Lil technology. So we got together, we did a POC, and in Q4, we basically ramped up the teams and we were able to process the product content for several seasons. I think we processed about 4 seasons in Polish and Portuguese. We were able to meet the deadline of end of year. And therefore, Asics Europe was able to launch these 2 locales on their e-com site. So the pilot was obviously a successful pilot. And because of that, Asics committed to using Lilt for all product description translations for all European languages, which are 7 European languages, for 2019, or just going forward after the pilot. We also included 2 more languages, Taiwanese and French Canadian. So those were additional languages that came to the partnership as well. So in 2019, we covered 2 seasons for 9 languages. And we did that successfully. We met the timeline expectations and quality expectations. We did have some lower satisfaction in the Spanish translations, and Lilt quickly changed the team and onboarded new linguists and improved the quality to the level that we were expecting. So 2019 was another successful year that once again proved to Asics the value of the Lil technology and the partnership. And this year we were able to expand the scope further. So we added Japanese, which for Asics is by far the most important language, as it's a Japanese company. We also added actually the Scandinavian languages, so that's 4 languages, and Czech. So the scope was definitely expanded this year. And we've also started translating product content for our educational toolkits, which are used for internal education. So this is mostly for our retail stores, as well as our partner stores, so for the staff. This is just to give you a sample of the type of content that is translated through Lilt. So on the left is just a page from our e-com site. So all the product details, the pronation information, as well as the product features, that is what is translated through Lilt. And then on the right-hand side, you have an example of one of the slides in an educational toolkit. So again, it's all product related content that we're leveraging the LIL technology for. This is just a very high-level look at the numbers after the first year of working with Lilt, and as you can see, there, the outcome is pretty impressive. So we saw cost savings of about 70%. So this is compared to the process that Asics Europe was using before we onboarded Lilt. So that was a huge improvement, obviously. And the most important metrics for us really was the middle one, so speed. We were able to cut turnaround times by 60%, which was the main pain point that Asics Europe was experiencing. So that was the biggest win, really. And then also very important is that the quality was assessed to be on par with the full human translation that was used before. And this is even with a vendor that had been translating content for Asics for years. So we were quite happy also with the quality results, even after the first 2 seasons. What I really wanted to stress in this session was the importance of the partnership. So Asics Digital has been working with Lilt now, as I said, for almost 2 years, and really a big part of the success is because of the close partnership that we've created and we continue to foster. We consider Lilt really an extension of our team when it comes to the product content. And we've been able to progress and develop that partnership over the time that we've been working together. So these are a few of the ways in which, we've been able to really strengthen the partnership and achieve results that were important wins for Asics. So whenever we have new locales, we're able, or Lilt in this case, is able to ramp up very quickly in about 2 weeks. We at Asics have direct contact with the language teams through Slack mostly. So we do have a direct communication channel with the linguists. We at Asics have opened up our internal brand portal to the Lilt linguists so that they have full contextual information and educational information on the products that they're for which content they're translating. We have received great support from Lilt. We, meaning the localization team specifically, in gaining buy-in from the C-suite and from the regional stakeholders. As many of you know, if you're in localization departments on the client side, this is a big part of our job, is really showing the value of localization and also being able to get buy-in for expansion of budget or expansion of scope of the work that we do. So Lilt has been a great partner in helping us get those internal wins. And I'm going to show an example of that in the next slide. When we onboarded or when we kicked off the Japanese project, it was very important to have direct communication between Asics Japan and the Lilt team. And this has proven really successful. The Lilt project management team was really transparent and great at communicating with the Japanese team. The Japanese team was able to meet the Japanese language leads, and so kind of start to create that trusting relationship, which, at least for Japanese stakeholders, is hugely important. We actually just had our retro for the first season project last night, and it was a very successful session. So having all parties talking directly to each other has been really efficient for us. Whoops, sorry, one more thing. Lilt has just been really flexible in changing existing processes and adapting to our needs, and that has been, has allowed us to develop this part further. So I was talking about internal buy-in, and one of the ways that we did this actually is we have asked Lilt to create some short videos for us. We had this done after the pilot, so we could get buy-in from the C-suite to sign on for all languages, for all seasons going forward. And we also did this to get the Japanese business. And basically, Lilt created short videos with, like in one, there's a greeting from Spence, and then there's quick demos on how the technology works, and then some testimonials from the linguists. And it just, in a very short time, so 3 minutes or 5 minutes or even 90 seconds, these videos have had a huge impact internally. And obviously, if it's a visual that you can send out, even if you're not able to explain the technology or the partnership, videos are obviously very impactful. And so this has been a great success for us. Unfortunately, I cannot play these because of how, this virtual sharing works, but I'm happy to share these slides after if it's possible through Lilt. So just looking to the future, we continue to foster a strong partnership, and there are several activities that we're looking to work on and to kick off in the next current and following quarters. So one thing is to optimize, so closer collaboration with our product copy team, as well as with the regional reviewers, and also find ways to optimize the work of our internal reviewers, because of course, they're busy people with their actual full-time jobs. So we want to try to minimize the impact on their time. Automation is an important initiative as well, and there are several fronts that we're working on with automation. First of all, we're going to connect Lilt with our product information management system. Until now, Asics on our side have had technical limitations for this automation. So Lilt was really ready to automate from the start, but our technology wasn't ready because we were migrating to a new system. So we now have the opportunity to do that. We're also creating dashboards through a data API, which is great because we're going to have data at our fingertips. TMS integration. So we do use a TMS internally, which is XTM, and we do manage the other content that we process through XTM. And we've been able to integrate the two systems so that, at least on the Asics side, we can centralize our assets even more, and even our project management even more. So these have been really successful initiatives for us. In terms of growth, we've added Japanese already. We're looking to add Korean as well, which is another one of our top tier languages. In tier 2 languages, we have Scandinavian languages, which we have added. We're looking to add more Eastern European languages, and also looking at other possibilities in Latin America, as well as other Asian languages. And also new content. So we have expanded to educational toolkits, but we're also looking for opportunity to expand the scope of using Lilt on other types of content. When it comes to innovation, we do look to Lilt to continue to offer us innovative solutions. So, of course, MT improvements, as well as reviewer quality improvements, and also some smart project management. Oh, and just in conclusion, I wanted to show just a very simple diagram of the ecosystem that we now have in place since the integration with XTM, as well as the imminent integration with our product information management system. So as you can see, we have a really connected ecosystem from content flow, from content repository systems into our translation management systems. The two translation management systems are now talking to each other. So in terms of PM and TM syncing, it's a huge improvement. The data connections are separate, but done separately from Lilt or XTM, but everything's going into the same data analytics system. And then on the right side, we have other content repositories that connect into XTM. But because we're sharing TMs, we're now able to leverage all the different content that we have against each other. All of our content really crosses over. Product content is not only isolated to product descriptions. We obviously refer to our products even in our marketing content. So it's really great now to have everything in a centralized system where we can share TMs and terminologies, etc. So that's what I have. If you have any questions, please, this is the time.
Great. Alessandra, thank you so much. We do have a few people who I'm going to actually add live to the session. First up, we have Isabella, and it will take a moment to queue up here. But for those of you who are listening, although the transition from the stage to the moderated session is a bit of a switch, what it enables is for people to actually join in and ask questions live. So in just a minute, we should have people up here who can ask questions. Well, I don't know, maybe, oh, here we go, here's one, okay. Mark, if you could try one more time, something just happened with that. Maybe that was a mistake. Okay, well, in the meantime, please feel free to jump in and ask questions. Oh, here we go, here's Mark, okay.
Yeah, hi, hello.
Hi.
I was wondering what was the impact on your in-house localization team, the impact of your collaboration with Lilt, and how do they exactly work together?
Well, I have to say fairly light impact because a lot of the heavy lifting is done on the Lilt side. As I said, we consider Lilt kind of an extension of our team. So we're able to hand off most of the needed tasks to Lilt. In fact, the fact that they are communicating directly with our regional partners, especially Japan, has been a huge burden really lifted off our shoulders, honestly, because sometimes you end up, first of all, you end up being a messenger, and of course, that is totally inefficient. So the fact that Lilt has jumped in with some direct project management with our regional partners has been a huge lift off our shoulders.
All right, great, thank you.
We have one more question in the chat. Daphne said, could you share more about the data analytics part of the integration? What kind of data are you monitoring and using it to showcase to C-staff or C-suite, I assume?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, this is something that we did together with Lilt. So in terms of what data we wanted to surface and how we wanted to see it, we were able to dictate that or to work together with Lilt to say, this is what I need to see. I don't need this information, this is not relevant for me, so you can take it out. And so it's been really flexible and it's followed really our internal requirements. So what do we show? We basically show, it's kind of the usuals, right? Volume, turnaround time, and cost. We do show also leverage, which is huge for us. With the repeatable content we have, we've seen the leverage increase hugely from season to season. So, we can see that now 50% of our content is leveraged already in the TM. So that, of course, improves consistency, but most importantly, improves speed. We've been able to somewhat break down data by season, which for us is the most important breakdown for showing results. And that's pretty much it, I would say.
Great, thank you. We also have one more question that was messaged to me. Someone said earlier you mentioned communicating directly with the lilt linguist through Slack. How did you leverage that, and could you talk a bit more about what that experience was like?
Yeah, so we have a Slack channel that we all have access to, and we have some general channels where linguists can post generic questions, usually on one of the product technologies. Some of the content in our product descriptions is fairly technical because it's very specific to Asics technologies. So a lot of those questions are generic product questions that are applicable to all languages. So we have some general channels for that. We then have language specific channels. So obviously there are specific questions that are posed by a group of linguists that are working on the same language. And we also have individual chats. So it's really all the way around. You can also kind of dictate how that works, right? You may not want to have all this communication. So you could say only the general or only the language level and not the individual. So it's really up to you.
Great, thank you. I think we have time for one more question that we've just received in the chat. It says, how do you motivate your internal reviewers to deliver in time in spite of their full-time jobs and other tasks?
Yeah, we beg a lot. We beg. Our internal reviewers are actually, in this case, they're the product people. So our category teams and our e-commerce teams. So it is in their best interest actually to do the reviews in time for the launch of the content on the site. So that is kind of motivation enough for them, but we do have to keep that in mind, and that is why we're looking forward to the optimization that Lilt is doing on the reviewer side, both in terms of improving quality as well as improving propagation of the edits they make throughout a document or throughout several projects that they're working on. So there's definitely some things that are in progress that should improve the need for effort and time on the reviewer side. So we're excited for these improvements to come. Great.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're at time now. Thank you so much. This was really great. Such a good overview. We very much appreciate your participation. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
For the rest of you listening, we have another session starting in just a minute. And this one, if you go over to your sessions tab, again on the left side, you'll be able to see it there. So Alessandra, thank you very much. And
thank you. Enjoy the
rest of the day. Perfect. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.